Hello, my name is Yolanda and I'm going to be guiding you through the music contents in 6th of primary. The contents will be divided in 5 parts. The history of music, the language of music, music of the world, music in detail, and music and its surroundings. Hello, I'm introducing you to the Gregorian chant. We are in the Middle Ages. What happened in the Middle Ages? During the 6th century, a decision was made that would change the course of music history. What had happened before that? Music was passed on by word of mouth. Grandparents would teach their children, children would learn from their parents, and grandsons would learn from their grandparents. That means people would change things a little bit when they learned it. And what happened then? There was a pope in the 6th century, Pope Saint Gregory I. What happened across this lad's head? He said, I'm going to put all the documents written in Latin that are meant to be sung in one book. Hold on, in several books, so nothing will be lost, and I will call them codices. Yes, so what happened? Suddenly, Saint Gregory didn't write anything, he didn't compose anything, he didn't do anything at all, and suddenly he was the author of the Gregorian chant. Who sang the Gregorian chant? The men only. And why the men? Because monks would sing it. They would sing in churches, cathedrals, and other worshiping places. What do you need to know about the Gregorian chant? 2 things mainly. First, it's sung a cappella. What does a cappella mean? It means we sing only with our voices and no instrumental accompaniment. That means at the time there weren't many instruments to make instrumental accompaniments to start with. Second thing to take into account, it had free rhythm. What does it mean, free rhythm? It means since it was passed on by word of mouth, people would have the general idea, but everyone would give in what they felt about the music. For example, if I sing, hello, and then my grandchild hears me sing it, and she wants to make her own style, she might sing, hello. As you can see, there will always be a small change, since the rhythm is free. Okay, so we get to the 11th century, a very important century in terms of music. There was this man, Guido d'Arezzo. He had a personal desire to preserve every music on paper, so he invented the musical notation. In this system, each note had assigned a different height between 4 different lines. It was called a tetragram. The only difference was that Mr. d'Arezzo preferred to draw notes squared, whereas today we write them round. What else did Guido d'Arezzo do? He took St. John Baptist's hymn, and he took the first syllable of each of his verses, and with that he created the name of the notes as we know them in Europe nowadays. That is to say, Do, Re, Mi, Fa, Sol, La, Ti, Do. Only Do wasn't Do really, it was called Ut, but he changed it, and then we got the 7 notes that we have today. Just remember, in the United States, the notes are named after the first letters of the alphabet, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Besides religious music, there was also profane or popular music, thus known because it was performed outside the worshipping places by the townsfolk. It was also passed on by word of mouth. In this case, troubadours and minstrels would perform it. Troubadours would perform for wealthier people, whereas minstrels would perform for the humble folk. This music, unlike the religious music, would be accompanied by instrumental music. It would be played by instruments typical of that era, such as the drums, the flute, or the lute. These were all typical instruments of the time, and they would stress the festive quality of such music. Another difference with religious music is that in popular music, each town would perform the music in their own language. This way, they would feel closer to the music. That's all, folks. See you next time.